Well, today I'm talking to Jeff Meyer. He's the owner of White Bear Glass in White Bear Lake, Minnesota. That's in the Twin Cities area. Hey, thanks for joining us this morning, Jeff.
Chris, thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure for sure. So you guys have been in business for a long time there, haven't you?
We have, like most glass shops, my uncle started White Bear Glass in 1977, and then my wife and I, we purchased it from him in 1994, and now we have one of our middle son, Barrett, kind of working out in the field, learning the business, and hopefully it moves on another generation.
Now, I was reading somewhere, I don't know if it was on your website or where, but it was talking about how your uncle still came in to work like one day a week or something.
Yes, yeah. Man, from 94 till about probably 2000, he was, still an employee, did a lot of our screen work and stuff in back. And, like to raise Cain with all the employees. He never has lost that. So, and my mom has worked with me probably since 95. She still works 4 days a week in the mornings doing my payables. She's 84. So she started in the glass business at PPG in Minneapolis. So she's been in the glass business for, I think 60 some years in some capacity. So it's been a great industry for our family and hope to pass it on and for the next generation.
So now, was your mom the first person in your family to get into the glass industry, or?
Yes. Yeah. And she worked for my uncle doing books and for another small glass shop that was just kind of north of St. Paul proper called the East Side Glass in St. Paul for this John Fitzgerald owned that. He ended up retiring. So, yeah, she's been around a long time.
Yeah, it's interesting. My dad worked at PPG. It's funny because I guess Michiganders have a similar accent to Minnesotans, and it was funny because probably 10 years ago, someone said, "Hey, are you from Michigan?" I was like, "Wow, yeah, I left there like 40 years ago." How did you know that? And so I can tell by the way you talk.
Yeah, I think flyover country has we speak distinctly. People pick us out all the time. I always say I'm from Wisconsin just because
right.
They have championship football teams. We don't.
Right on. How is your company different than it was when it started out?
Well, when Jer started it, he worked for a large company called Gateway Glass, which is located in St. Paul, and they had a large contract glazing division and a large auto glass division. And the owners at that point just decided to split the auto glass off and move my uncle out to White Bear Lake, where it was kind of all the car dealers were. Got him started out here. So at that point, White Bear Glass was primarily auto glass, but they did, residential windows and some shower doors. And, as the market changed, I started at White Bear Glass in 1984 out of high school. And we did, at that point, we were doing lots of residential and auto glass. In 94, when I bought it, we had the same kind of mix. And then in 2000, we kind of made a decision that auto glass was, getting to be such a niche product to work with and dealing with insurance companies and stuff that I just made the decision that we were going to go strictly stay in the flat glass market. So 2000 to 2003, it's really a big change for us. focusing on, smaller commercial and residential mirrors and shower doors. We do a lot of insulated glass replacement for homeowners and property owners that, the seals failed and the sash is still in good shape. So,
yeah, that's the insulated business is a good business. I mean, there's plenty of work out there for that because they fail, and eventually, people might live with it for a while, but eventually they'll replace it. But I feel for anybody who's in the auto glass industry, man, that's a tough business. I mean, the glass business is tough anyway, right?
For our industry, it's just a low barrier of entry. So you can get in with some tools and a truck, and you're in business, and but it's a super complicated business. We don't think so because we're in it and we do it every day. But people don't know what type of glass they have, what it's supposed to do, what its, limitations are, what you should use where. So we have such a unique trade compared to the other trades in the industry. I've always, said that for us, they have to make the opening or guarantee the opening, and then we have to build it from these pieces, take it out and install it. We don't get to bring a spool or, PVC piping and cut it. And, all of that stuff our end is so technical because we have to do it before it's really created. So we have very little wiggle room. And like everyone in the glass business knows, it's really tough to stretch a piece of tempered or cut it down. So the technicality of our industry, I think we really sell ourselves short. And our product is beautiful. It makes a building function. I mean, if there were no windows, people wouldn't work there. And so I just think our industry has to look at the long-term value of our product. I don't know how many times in a month we're called out to a commercial building where the doors are from the 80s, and they're like, well, can you do this or you can do that? And it's like, you don't even have a car that's half as old as this. And you're spending $40,000 every few years on it. Whatever, hinges are shot or something, and, we do it. Instead of saying, nope, that door is past its lifetime, it's time to get a new one.
Yeah, glass is just so unforgiving. I mean, you can't, you don't get to fill the holes or putty it. You can't, tempered glass, you can't trim anything off of it. I mean, whenever I do an installation and it's done and it's sold, then they love it. I think about all the things that had to go right in order for that to happen. And it's really incredible. It's like you say, people have no idea just the number of opportunities there are for something to go wrong from the time that you measure to the time that it's installed. It's just insane.
Yes. I mean, even back to how glass is made. I mean, we have 4 core values at White Bear Glass: growth, adventure, explore, integrity, and teamwork. And our growth core value is, I'm going to just read it. It says, glass has been around since 3,500 BC. My understanding of how it can be crafted is always growing by refining my skills. I mean, our industry is cutting edge. And what I love about it is the base product. We're never going to wake up and someone's going to say, no, glass changed overnight, Jeff. You got to completely redo how you think. To me, that's just job security. How glass is manufactured. Now, what they can do to it should give everyone that's in the industry just excitement that there's all this potential growth, especially in small shops. I have 15 people. I mean, we can turn on a dime if the shower door market starts to trend down, and we're in flyover country, so it'll happen out west or out on the East Coast, and we'll feel it a year or two later, which gives us time to, okay, we need to get into building maintenance, get those customers going again. There's not going to be new building. we got to get back to people that are just going to stay and fix things. But the core of our business is there. We're not like the technology industry, which every day there's just something different has changed, something has tweaked, there's a bug to fix. Our core business for glass is solid. I'll put it this way. It's a semi-solid. So that's why I love the industry. We're never going to run out of things to do, and because it's going to break, and there's never going to be any time where it's like, well, that's it. Look at how shower doors have evolved.
Yeah, and there's never going to be really a replacement for glass. I mean, there's clear plastic and doesn't do what glass does. And you mentioned the tech industry. Just having a phone that's got glass in it that you're going to carry in your pocket, that you're going to drop occasionally and all that, they've had to really engineer it in new ways, which I find fascinating too.
Yes, yeah. I was out this early spring out in California and went to the Apple complex out there and saw that visitors center that they have with those. They're like 22-foot high engineered glass panels that hold that second deck on there, and it's like just an incredible glazing project. But it's like, here you have this high-tech computer company that needed that Gorilla Glass for the screens. Then they saw, well, they can do anything with glass, and the way I read it is they're like, well, can we make this building unique by doing something with glass? And they found someone to do it. And I think that's the key in a small shop is, kicking over those stones. I mean, we added shower door protective coating 7-8 years ago, and it's one of the last value added things a small shop like ours can do. We don't have a tempering oven, we don't have CNC machines, so we get this product in and we can add a protective coating and get the markup on it, and then we're in control of that. But that's really it. We're not making our own hinges, and glass coatings are out there and people want them. I mean, they want to protect their investment.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, a high-end frameless shower enclosure it's expensive. I mean, it's an investment that they're making, and we started offering that too. And actually have made it kind of a standard feature. So whenever somebody, purchases a frameless enclosure, we just automatically add the treatment.
We gone to the point now where we bought a fuse cube from Diamond Fusion, 25 liter. So it's it's an actual chamber. We push a rack of glass in there, coat it, bring it out, install it. And it's a big profit center for us in our business. I mean, a substantial profit center, because we are giving the customer value. And the good thing is we're controlling it on our end. We're not buying it from the fabricator and having to share that markup with anyone. It's ours.
Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned Diamond Fusion. When we were talking yesterday, and we're just chit-chatting, and you asked me if I knew Carl Chris. And I was like, yeah, I know Carl Chris. The funny thing about that is I live in Santa Cruz, California, and when I first started my business, there's a networking group here in Santa Cruz called La Tip International, a group of business people who get together for the purpose of giving each other leads. And when I joined the group, Carl Chris was in the group, and it just blew my mind that I would meet you yesterday and we would already know somebody in common, besides Max Perlstein, of course, who introduced us.
I mean, that's one thing I think people need to remember in the glass business. It's small, and not all jobs work out, and because of that, I've said this to my kids: do an honest day's work. If it doesn't work out, you just leave that it didn't work out. It's a business deal. If it didn't work, it didn't work. Because you never know when those same people you're going to cross paths with again. And in the glass business, it's small. You know, geographically, it's global. If you go to any glass, you know, shows or forums, you know, people from around the world are there. You know, I met Max back in the 90s at some Ghana deals, and we just have, you know, been in contact. Now Max does, you know, the majority of marketing for our company. He's in Michigan. I'm in, you know, Minnesota, just outside of St. Paul. But it's the glass business. We can talk on the phone, email, or text, and he knows the industry so well and is so well connected, and it's just been a real wonderful thing for White Bear Glass to have his expertise, you know, basically as a staff member.
Yeah, he's such a great guy, and it just blows me away. He's such a smart guy. He just knows so much about the industry, and it's like kind of like you were saying earlier. It's a complicated industry, and you can work in the business, and there's so much that I don't know about glass. I've kind of specialized in the shower door part of it, so I could kind of, you know, have the advantage of knowing a lot about one little niche, you know. But Max is a guy who really knows a lot.
Yes. Well, and in Minnesota, you know, this is kind of the Silicon Valley of the glass industry here, because we have Apogee's based here, Cardinal is here, Cardinal Insulating Glass. So you got Harmon here, Viracon, all these window manufacturers that are close, Marvin, Pella, Anderson, all the ones that are in Wisconsin. So there's a lot of glass people around here. And so, you know, I feel fortunate being in Minnesota that of the contacts I've been able to make. And I worked for a large distributor in Minneapolis for a few years, and that really opened my eyes from being at White Bear Glass, you know, a small shop, and then going to a regional distributor. Like, wow, these people see so much more than we'll ever see. But there's still opportunity for us small shops to take advantage of what glass can do. There's just, you know, it's really endless, and you obviously have to be careful, but it also gives you opportunity that if you're a little bit, and that's why we have Adventure Explorer in our core values, because I want, you know, my team here to know that I like to change things. They'll make the comment, well, we move the showroom around at least every 6 months because Jeff gets bored with it. But that's really my creative side, and that's why I've loved the glass industry, is it's always given me the opportunity to spin several plates at one time. You know, we've got special projects going on all the time. Back in the early 2000s, the Peanuts characters, they made a bunch of life-size Peanuts characters like Snoopy and Charlie Brown, and Schultz was from St. Paul. They were having an anniversary for him, so they had these auctions for these big concrete Snoopy or Peanuts figures. One of my relatives ended up buying a Snoopy and a Charlie Brown, and he's like, I want to build a doghouse out of glass so I can put Snoopy in there, and then I can push him in and out depending on. So, you know, we fabricated a glass storefront doghouse that had a Snoopy in it. So, again, I just the industry has been very good to my family, and I'll forever be thankful for my uncle taking a chance on me to buy his company, and I'm hoping, you know, Barrett sees the same opportunity that I did. I don't, you know, he has to see the opportunity. I can't tell him there's an opportunity. I think that's one of the big changes in management and leadership nowadays is, you know, back in the 80s when I started. You were told to do things. And now I think it's more not an ask, but a leadership of, this is what I see we need to do here. What do you see? Because in the end, we have to solve the problem for the customer. No one calls us because their glass is okay. It's only because there's a problem.
Right.
And from that point of the contact, we have to handle it like the professionals we are. You know, no one's dying on our glass cutting table because we can't get it done today. We have to prioritize it for how it works for us. And the customer can push you hard, but that's where you just have to be solid in how you're running your business. I read a book years ago called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, and it just really kind of changed how I looked at how our business worked. Like, you know, we have all these little areas and they function. And Chris, you said it, our business is so complicated. You think of how glass is made. These sheets are brought to a fabricator. They cut it to some close tolerance. They temper it or edge it or whatever we do to it. And then it ends up at our shop and we go put it in because it was measured right. And that's kind of what Gerber goes through. The E-Myth is just, there's things that are naturally happening in all these areas of your business. And if you can just set up the process so you can repeat it, it takes out all the confusion that humanity adds to business, including myself. I mean, I've always said, you know, I'm setting up these processes more so that I follow them all and I don't jump from A to D. I do A, B, C, and D because it doesn't do my people any good if the paperwork process is a certain process and I take it and jump it ahead three spots. So I don't do any scheduling. We have a great person, Vanna, that does all of our scheduling for everyone. And I always get people say, well, don't you own the company? And it's like, yep. And we have a process for scheduling. It's not my job. So that book kind of set me in a different direction in the early 2000s, you know, and we got some processes in place that keep the paperwork organized and flowing and the schedule flowing. And now with technology out there, we just installed one of these texting email schedule reminder deals a couple weeks ago because we're still doing it the dinosaur way. We'd call, leave a message, hey, does Tuesday at 2:00 work, da-da-da-da-da, and then back and forth. And people are just, they're busy. They're getting it from their dentist, the person that's cutting their hair, the car people. It's like, that's the way people want to communicate and be reminded. Why are we doing it like we did it back in 1994? It just doesn't make any sense. So much as we think we're not that same company in 1994, we are. But there's things we can constantly be improving on. So
a better version of that company, right?
Yes. An advanced, you know, an older company, older and wiser. I think that's what age does. I'm 53, so I still like the adventure explorer part, but I do it more calculated now. I don't have a lot of time for recovery if I step too deep into the pool.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, totally. And I love that adventure explorer value. I've never heard that before. It's a value that I already have, but has never been identified. So I'm definitely going to borrow that.
Please do.
For my company. That's awesome because it's a big part of it, isn't it? You've got to keep that passion alive, or else you just don't have the impetus to keep moving forward.
Yeah. Yes. And you know, I love coming into work every day, seeing what we're doing, participating. You know, I have my own customers that go through the same system my salespeople's customers go through. Mine aren't, you know, all of our customers are important to us. It's not the owner's customers. And everyone's, you know, our Minnesota Gopher football coach, you know, is big on rowing the boat, and everyone's got to be rowing in the same direction. And so many times as an owner, we're the one rowing the opposite way, and then we go out charging at everyone else like, hey, you're off beat or you're not rowing the right way. And, you know, we own mirrors. It's like, look in the mirror, Jeff, you're the one not rowing correctly. Because I've always said, if you got a mirror, that's the last thing you look at as you walk out your door every morning. It's like, this is the person that's in control of my day, and it's me. And I can either make it go up or down, or just stay as flat as possible or as in control as possible. That's a great thing. And then you get in your car, you're driving to the office, your phone rings, and a good customer says, hey, someone broke in last night, and you're like, oh my gosh, we're all going to do this job. We've screwed up 7 times, and we're finally going to go finish it. And you're back in the glass business. So that's what I love about it. It is the same stuff, but every day is different.
True. Hey, I wanted to circle back to, you mentioned that you've started something in the technology industry. And I want to just touch on briefly, talk about the horn a little bit. I mean, this is something that I find very intriguing. Tell us a little bit about what the horn is.
Okay. Well, thehorn.net is a new social network for people that want to communicate privately with their closest. We call them colleagues because friends, you know, is going to get legal issues with Mark. So in our group, thehorn.net, it's people are referred to as colleagues. It's a paid subscription site, so it's $3.99 a month, $3.99 a month, or you can buy an annual subscription for $30. It's really a site where you're going to bring your friends. We added a feature like file sharing. You get 100 gig of file sharing or file storage with the $3.99. And really, I have a close family friend. So it's myself, one of my brother-in-laws who's in the dirt business, and then a mutual family friend that's a code writer. He wrote a social network years ago, and, you know, like I said, technology, he got clobbered by a couple things, and it never got going. And we were out having a couple of cocktails, and, you know, I said, Jim Tushy Peters is our programmer, and I said, you know, you probably were ahead of the curve, and you're the code guy. You probably should have someone else run your company. And the next day I was like feeling like kind of awful that I got in his face about it. But anyway, about a week later, he calls me. He goes, I think you're right. He says, I think we should do this again, and you run it. So I said, well, let me think about it. And voila. So my brother-in-law got involved, JP. Like I say, he's got a dirt excavating business. But then JP and I each brought our 3 kids in because they've grown up in entrepreneurial homes. They've heard the ups, the downs, and I'm like, how much have we actually taught these kids? They've always been across the table with no skin in the game. So we finance this thing on our own. We don't have any outside investors. We launched basically on Easter Sunday. We had an article in the Minneapolis business section by Neil St. Anthony, and we're just kind of rolling. Our goal is to get 10,000 subscribers this year, and we're going. So again, this is an industry where every day I get these reports of what's going on the internet, and it's there's a lot of people trying not to work hard, trying to steal stuff, and how we jumped into that pool. So Yeah, we're super excited about it. Our kids are getting up to speed. I have a daughter-in-law, came from a non-entrepreneurial family that's showing superstar potential. And Jessica said to me, I'm not really sure what to do there. And I'm like, well, let's talk through it. And, you're an owner. You got to do it. Probably going to do something wrong. Just don't do that again. Move the ball in a different direction. Try it again. I said, and you're an entrepreneur. That's all it is taking the leap.
Yeah, it's about getting back up, isn't it?
It is, yes.
That's the difference. We get back up. I mean, that's really the only thing that separates us from the people who don't get back up.
And the reason you get back up is because internally you're like, okay, failure is always on the table. And so if I'm afraid of failure, you shouldn't do it. If failure is something you can accept, but it irritates you or upsets you, then you got it. And confidence is gained by mistakes and recovering from them. And to your point, Chris, getting up when you get knocked down. And who knows what's going to knock you down? It might be something you did, might be something completely different, some outside force you didn't even know about. But they're all learning opportunities, and that's life. So we've got this new social network up and running, and kind of excited to just have our just being a little bit different industry and see what happens.
So this is a brand new thing. It's called The Horn. It's thehorn.net, right?
Correct.
And I'm definitely going to be checking this out. I love new stuff. I mean, I love innovation.
Well, here, let me give you so I'm going to give out a gift code here. So here's put this in your browser. It's thehorn, THEHORN.net, and then when you get in there, you put in the gift code JM202. That'll give you 90 days free, and then it'll start after the 90 days to $3.99. We have to have you put your credit card in there because we have to verify age.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. You
Sure.
have to have a U.S. IP address, and you have to be over 18. And again, if you get in there, there's some public groups. If you go to the public group around the Horn, my Horn name is Maui Jeff, after the beautiful Hawaiian island, which I've been able to go to once, and it's made one heck of an impact on how beautiful places are on this planet when you can drive your car on the lakes up here, a lot of the year.
Yeah, right. Awesome. Yeah, I'm totally going to check that out. Yeah, that's exciting. It's a social network for grown-ups. That's what we've been looking for.
It is. You can connect completely privately with just the people you want to. It's easy to cancel your membership when you want to. We will never sell ads on there. We don't track you. Our revenue stream is the membership, subscription fee, and privacy. Your privacy is our business, is our motto. And I think there's we built it knowing there was a niche out there. We didn't build it to try to find a niche. Privacy is a scary thing, and people are just now starting to understand how much is known about them. And when we start to learn that, we know there's a lot more behind it.
Yeah, it's like a cockroach. If you see one cockroach, there's a whole bunch that you're not seeing.
Yes. Yep. And then you're being manipulated accordingly. I mean, just search online, and then the next day, fishing poles come up again. It's like, why is that coming back up? I looked for 10 minutes for a new fishing pole, and now it's like a So those were the things we have made our social network different for.
Excellent. Well, Jeff, thanks so much for taking some time today. I know we went a little bit longer than I said we would, but it was really, really interesting, and just really appreciate your taking the time to talk with us.
Well, thank you, Chris, and Max. Thanks again for you're the great connector, getting Chris and I connected. Have a great day.
Thanks, Jeff Meyer. Thanks so much.